Now let's take a look at a couple licks that you can use in your solo. I'm going to try to use them in mine, and share with you some ideas of where I'm coming from with some of these licks. So I mentioned in the segment talking about comping that in the static modal sound, there's not a lot going on, right? So I want to imply something going on. I want to apply harmonic action going on there. So I would do that with chords, making it into a 2/5, in this case D minor 7 G7. And I also want to do that with my line. So when I see a static modal section, particularly a Dorian, I'm going to pretend it's a 2/5. So I'm outlining that melodic shape against that static flat line. You know, it's almost like I'm going to create a curve through there's a straight line, I'm going to create a curve through it by outlining the 2/5 sound. So one of the techniques I can use is on the D minor 7, since I'm thinking of it being D minor 7 G7, I can use the G7 bebop scale. So that is a scale that has a passing tone between the root and the flat 7. So if I start on G and I did that one octave, and the reason of that is well, the reason of it is because it sounds good. It sounds good because it places all the core tones of the G7 on the downbeat, so it's real clear and precise. But anyway, so I have this lick that starts with that G7 bebop. Of course, what's going on in the background is just D minor 7, so I'm implying G7 by this line. So I start with that. I start with that bebop scale. So I have a little bit of a D minor, I have a D minor 7 here in the 5th position. And then when I get up to the top of that D minor 7, right, then I come down the G7 bebop from B natural, which is the 3rd degree of G7. And I go down an octave. And that's a funny thing, that's kind of what a bebop scale does. It takes you from octave to octave, so from this B down to this B in a real smooth and connected way. I think that's also the cool thing you can use them for, is to go, skip octaves like this. So anyway, this would be my lick on D minor Dorian that I'm implying that it's D minor 7 G7. So the second lick I have for you is uses a little chord substitution idea. And I have a little bit of the Dorian scale. But right here, this shape, starting from the B natural, is a B minor 7 flat 5. So this is a really cool chord substitution that you can use. You can think of it, think down a minor 3rd, play a minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio over the D minor. It brings out the Dorian sound of it. It brings out that bright, natural 6 sound, which is the whole essence of Dorian. So I use a little bit of the scale so I can connect into that B, and then I go up the B, half diminished arpeggio, and then I just use a little bit of the scale, little scale pattern. So in 3rds, right? So hopefully you guys and girls, children's, pets, practice your scales in 3rds and triads. You should have a little bit of these kinds of shapes in your line. So anyway, so that's my second lick I want to share with you, using that B minor 7 flat 5 substitution. And the last lick I want to share with you is another substitution I can play, and I used it in the chord voicings for sure, is to play F major 7 over D minor. So I'm going to use an F major 7 arpeggio and a little bit of the scale, a little bit of those 3rds patterns in the scale. So the 3rd lick goes... Let me play it. That's how it goes. Right, so I have that right there, that shape under my hand. F major 7, of course, that's D is in the bass. My bass player is playing a D. So that sound creates a D minor 7 9. So let me play the lick for you one more time. So again, using a little bit of the scale, but I always want to try to find those chord shapes that I can bring out in my line, so that again, that static, the static progression is just a straight line, solid sound, and I'm creating little arcs and valleys with those substitutions and arpeggios on top of that. So please steal them and have fun with them. I'm going to have fun with them in this next segment.